Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we're gonna be testing out the 3 most viral carnivore tortillas that I've seen all over the internet. We're gonna be seeing which one is, in my opinion, the best. And I'm gonna be making, like I said, 3 different versions. One is the viral cottage cheese one that you bake. Another one is made out of chicken breast and egg. And the third one is made out of pork panko and egg. So let's jump right in. The first tortilla that I wanna start with is the cottage cheese one. And I wanna start with it because it just takes the longest to cook. So it'll cook while we work on the other tortillas. I'm gonna take some cottage cheese. I love this one. It is by Good Culture. I like the organic whole milk one. And so what we're going to do is, it says to just put well, it says, but I've seen a lot of people, they just take a thin layer and they usually use this as a wrap, but I'm gonna do this in a tortilla form so we can see how it holds up for tacos or, you know, just a smaller wrap. I don't wanna use this as a huge wrap. We're gonna take our cottage cheese and, like I said, just spread it out on a sheet pan with parchment paper. And while I'm doing this, I also have my oven preheating to 350 degrees Fahrenheit because this is going to cook in the oven for 30 minutes. You want to make sure that the cottage cheese is as thin of a layer as possible. I love seeing carnivore alternatives to tortillas and just trying different kinds of things. I've tried cheese ones before, and I've done ones with, you know, just using like an omelet basically for a tortilla. But I'm really excited to see which of these 3 could be my new favorite one for tacos. I typically have a keto diet, but I also like to mix in carnivore diet as well. So I will alternate in between keto and carnivore. And so this is perfect for, if you're keto, this is also perfect if you're on a keto diet. So whatever's carnivore is also keto, but not everything that's keto is carnivore. So that's why I really wanna see which one is gonna be my new favorite and could be your new favorite. All right, so I have my 2 tortillas almost ready here to put in the oven. My oven is now preheated. Let's throw this in for 30 minutes. Now that our cottage cheese tortilla is cooking in the oven, I want to get started on the panko one next. So I have some pork rind panko here. For the recipes that I'm using for the pork panko tortilla as well as the chicken breast one, I will include in the description below where I got these recipes from, and I will link those creators down in the description. Of course, have to give them credit. So here is the pork panko. I'm using 1/4 cup of pork panko. Then I'm using 1 large egg. So I'm just going to drop this egg in here. And then I'm gonna add also 1 tablespoon of melted butter. And mix this all together. All right, now I do not have an actual burger press for these like are used in the video for this recipe, but what I'm going to do is I am going to take a spoonful of our pork panko mixture. I'm gonna throw it onto a piece of parchment paper. Into a circle like this. And then I'm gonna take another piece of parchment paper and press down so that it forms into a flat circle. Just put it like this, and then just press down with my hand. And this is what we're going to drop into the pan to cook. We're just gonna leave it on the parchment paper until we need to put it on the pan. And as you can see, it has formed a nice flat tortilla. I'm gonna set this aside so I can do the second tortilla with the remainder of the mixture. Let's cook our panko tortillas. They are ready over here next to me. I'm going to take a non-stick pan and I'm going to heat it on medium heat. And let's take some ghee. That's gonna be what we're using as, instead of butter to cook this. I'm just gonna spread this, a nice thin layer on the pan. Take a paper towel and just spread this all the way around. My pan is nice and hot. I took off the top layer of the parchment paper and I'm just gonna flip this over onto the pan so it can start cooking. Give it a moment or two just to set onto the pan, and then we're gonna carefully take off the parchment paper. All right, I can see this side is starting to lift, so I'm gonna go off of this side and carefully lift this parchment paper, leaving our tortilla on the pan. And it's cooking absolutely perfectly. We're gonna give it a little move. It is freely moving here, that is perfect. In just a couple more seconds, I'm gonna flip it over to cook on the other side. All right, this can easily lift now. I'm gonna put my spatula underneath and flip it. This is ready. Let's set this aside and cook the second tortilla. Taking off the parchment paper carefully. For the chicken breast tortilla, I have 1 cup of cooked chicken breast. I'm gonna throw it in my food processor. And you wanna make sure that this chicken breast is cooled down or cold. All I did was cook my chicken breast in my air fryer, and I used my tasty air fryer. If you've watched any of my previous videos, it's honestly become my new favorite air fryer. If you want the discount code, it's in my description below. My chicken breast is in. I'm next going to throw in 2 whole large eggs. Let's put on our lid, and we are going to turn on our food processor until this is completely blended together. Let's open to see if this is ready. That is perfect. It is nice and mixed together. Let's get our pan so that we can cook this tortilla as well. I have my non-stick pan here in front of me. I'm heating it again on medium heat. I'm gonna take a scoop, about this big I think, and put it on our non-stick pan and spread out the mixture to get it as thin as possible. You can also use that burger press if you have one, or you can take a piece of parchment paper and just press down with a spatula like this to get it as thin as possible. You could have done the same thing with the pork panko one, but I wanted to try 2 different versions of flattening it, just in case you also don't have a burger press at home. So I can give you all kind of like a, see which version is best for that as well. I think it also just depends on what the consistency of the mixture is. The pork panko one is a little more watery, not watery, but it's more liquidy than the chicken breast mixture is. All right, this is still cooking. It is not ready to flip yet, but I'm just going to lift the bottom. All right, this is almost ready to flip. Perfect. Let's give this another press down. Completely different consistency so far from the panko one. I haven't made any of these versions, so this is also my first time trying the pork panko, the chicken breast, and the cottage cheese tortillas. That's why I wanna see which one I like the most, to see which one I'd more likely incorporate into my diet, or I'm sure I'll like all of these, but what would I use them for? And what could you wrap them in? What does it taste like? I wanna give you guys that just in case you haven't tried any of these versions or you're wondering which one to pick for what. All right, so this chicken one is done. Just make sure, perfect, it is finished. I'm gonna set it aside on the same plate that I did for the pork panko. Let's cook the remainder of the chicken tortillas. I'm just gonna put a little bit more ghee on my pan. Take a paper towel and just spread this around. I'm gonna lower my heat a little bit, just to medium-low heat. Take our mixture, put it on. I think I can cook 2 at a time. They're not too big. To keep this a neutral experiment, what I'm gonna do is have my filling only be steak and sour cream. This is a completely carnivore recipe today. So I'm gonna cook my steak really quickly here. I've seasoned my steak with salt and black pepper, and I've let it sit for about 20-30 minutes at room temperature. I have a pan here that is heating on medium heat. I'm going to add ghee and cook the steak in some ghee. Let's spread this on the pan. And I'm going to lay my steak down. We're just gonna give this a quick cook right here so that we can put this as our toppings for our tacos. And here are our 3 tortillas. Right here I have the pork panko one, which was pork panko, egg, and butter. This one is the chicken breast and egg, and this one here is the cottage cheese. They all look really good. Let's first talk texture-wise. So the pork panko one has a really nice texture. It holds up really well. I can fold it like this, it doesn't break apart. So I really like that. Sometimes when you make these keto or carnivore alternative tortillas, they fall apart really easily. So I really like how this one is holding up. It is really nice. And texture-wise, it kind of almost feels like a really thin omelet, but it doesn't, doesn't smell like an omelet, doesn't smell like an egg at all. It has a very pork panko smell, which I really like. Next, let's talk about the chicken one. So this chicken one also has a really good texture. Let's fold it. Not as, it doesn't hold up as well as the pork panko one. It's a little more flimsy. I don't wanna bend it too much because as you can see, it's already cracking a little bit, which is not a big deal. Just something to note depending on what you wanna use this for. So I wouldn't, use this as a wrap, but you could definitely use this as a tortilla for like a taco. Smell-wise, smells like cooked chicken breast. Also, it doesn't have an eggy smell at all, even though it has egg in it. So if you don't really like that like egg smell or omelet smell, neither of these so far have it. And this one here is our cottage cheese one. I'm gonna do this one. This one cooked a little bit more than the other one. Texture-wise, it also holds up really well, just like the pork panko one. Well, I do see it crack a little bit. Maybe if you made it a little thicker. I don't know how it would cook a little thicker because I kind of like how thin this is. It is cottage cheese, so I don't want it to be too cheesy with whatever I'm eating and to completely overpower the flavor of the remainder of the dish. I've mostly seen people use the cottage cheese one when they use it as a wrap. So they'll do like a big square sheet. I'm sure you've seen it. And they put a bunch of stuff in there like a wrap or a burrito. You could do that, but I wanted to try how I would do this if I would make a taco. As you guys know, I love tacos. I eat them basically every week. And so I want to see which one of these taste-wise will be my favorite new carnivore tortilla. So far, just based on texture, I think my favorite are the pork panko and the cottage cheese, but most importantly is the taste. So let's go ahead and taste this. To give this a fair share, I'm gonna keep the fillings of my carnivore taco the same. So I'm just gonna be doing my New York strip that I just cooked as well as some sour cream. So let's put on our New York strip. A little dollop of sour cream. Okay. And let's give this a taste test. I'm really interested to see if the chicken is very forward with the steak tacos. That's how I saw this influencer make these tacos. And I don't want the chicken to overpower my steak. So let's give it a taste test. It's okay. First of all, it completely fell apart when I was eating it. You know, it's still breaking apart. Not a huge fan of that particularly because, of course, if I'm eating a taco, I want my taco to stay together. I don't want it to fall apart while I'm eating it. Taste-wise, it's pretty bland. I actually don't taste the chicken that much. Let me just taste it on its own. Well, here I have some sour cream, but let's take a little piece with less sour cream on it. Doesn't really have a chicken taste to it, which is good. I like that it is very plain, but not totally sold on this tortilla. So I wanna move on to the Panko one next. Here's my Panko one. Let's do the same thing. Let's put our let's put our New York strip in there. Some sour cream. All right, and taste test. Now that one is good. I used the just original regular pork panko. You guys have seen me use the Pork King Good panko. It's linked in my Amazon links down below if you're interested. It has a little bit of saltiness, which I like. I think the problem with the chicken one compared to this one is the chicken is just so bland. There's no salt at all. I would add salt at least to that one. But I even really like the texture of this. It is really, really nice. It is not springy or spongy. I like that it has a little hint of the pork without being too overpowering. It just has a nice flavor to it. And it doesn't overpower the steak. It actually really complements it. So far, this one, much better than the chicken one. I would 100% make these again. Let's move on to the cottage cheese one now. I am going to put my ribeye on there. Oh my God, why do I keep calling this a ribeye? It's a New York strip. I was talking about ribeyes all day today, and now I'm calling everything a ribeye. This is a New York strip. Okay, New York strip, sour cream. All right, folding wise, holding up really well together. Let's do a taste test. I really like that one too. It is completely different, obviously, texture-wise. This one is more like, the pork panko is more spongy. This cottage cheese one, it's kind of like a little bit crisp. It has a nice crisp to it, and I like the cheesiness. It actually got much more mild when it cooked, which is interesting. And I really enjoy that. I think it's very complimentary. And unlike the pork panko, it doesn't have any kind of meat flavor, obviously, because it's just cottage cheese. There's no egg, there's no pork panko, there's no chicken, there's no meat, there's no nothing. It's just the cottage cheese, no salt, no pepper. I have seen people add salt and pepper to it and other seasonings. I didn't do that for this case because I just wanted to see the cottage cheese on its own, with its own flair, with its own, flavors. And I really enjoyed that one too. They're very, very different, but they're really good for tacos. And I understand why people really like this cottage cheese one. So now it's time to actually rank these. For me, these are really similar, actually. In terms of how much I like them, they're very different. So I think that this pork panko one, I don't know if I would use this in a wrap. I think in terms of how versatile it is, I would really focus these on making tacos or, something very, like just basically just tacos. I don't think I could honestly use these for anything else. I don't see myself using these for anything else. The cottage cheese ones, I actually really like. I think I like them more only because they're a little more versatile. So I could use them in a wrap. So If you're keto, you could also put like vegetables in there and different kinds of meats, and you could make this into a wrap. I think in terms of longevity, like you could make this for lunch. You could make these way ahead of time, maybe even a day or two in advance, and just store them so they're ready for making into wraps. That's why I think I like the cottage cheese one the most, only because of that. But flavor-wise, I think they're so different, the pork panko and the cottage cheese, that I have to rank them both at the top. But again, cottage cheese versatility definitely puts it at number one. Flavor-wise, I think it also puts it at number one. I could see myself making the cottage cheese one again and the most. And one thing I will note is in terms of how much time it took to make these, the cottage cheese one will take you more time because you do have to bake it. So if that's something you're not wanting to do, then my number two choice, pork panko. That's what I would do. I think the flavor of the pork panko is significantly better than the chicken breast, and I think that it's very complimentary. It was really quick to make. You can, increase the amount that the amount of the ingredients to make more of the tortillas, and it was super simple, and they hold up really well together. You could also make these in advance, and I think that it would hold up well over, a day or two if you wanted to make these for tacos or something that you're gonna make later on. The chicken breast, unfortunately, I do not think I'll be making this one again. I didn't really like it too much, only because it really just falls apart so easily, and I am not a fan of how bland the flavor is. I do like a little bit of flavor, which is why cottage cheese number one, pork panko tortilla is number two for me, and chicken breast, I am so sorry, but I am going to kick you to the bottom. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope you all try these tortillas at home so you can see what kind of carnivore recipes that you can make with these. Comment down below what you've used these tortillas for. If you like this video, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Also hit that notification bell to never miss a tasty upload. Till next time.